The first shot echoed across the gravel courtyard, sharp enough to slice through the morning haze. Captain Alina Ward felt the sting before she registered the sound, a burning shock blooming across her shoulder. The soldiers nearby froze as two more shots followed, each one hitting her vest with brutal force. And standing 10 meters away, jaw clenched, eyes blazing with fury, was General Marcus Hale, the man whose pride she unknowingly wounded minutes earlier. Before she could steady herself, he fired again. 5 shots total, 5 hits. 5 explosions of pain she would remember forever. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you re-watching from. I love knowing who is listening. For a moment, the base went silent. Not the kind of silence that brought peace, but the kind that pressed on your chest like a weight. Alina staggered but didn't fall. Her breaths came short and sharp. Dust curled around her boots as she tried to understand why the most respected man on the base had just unleashed his rage upon her. Only minutes earlier, she had been tending to a wounded private, wrapping bandages with the tenderness she was known for. Alina wasn't a soldier like the others. She wasn't trained to break bones or pull triggers. She was there to heal, to steady shaking hands, to remind exhausted men and women that compassion still had a place in war. But Marcus Hale didn't see compassion. He saw interference. He saw a medic stepping between him and a soldier he believed deserved punishment. The courtyard filled with murmurs, each whisper a small match threatening to ignite a much bigger flame. Some soldiers glanced at Marcus with disbelief. Others stared at Alina, waiting to see whether she would crumble or stand tall. She chose neither. She simply breathed. As the pain surged under her ribs, Alina's thoughts drifted somewhere she hated, to the truth she kept hidden behind calm eyes. She had promised herself years ago she wouldn't freeze again, not after watching her brother bleed out in a place very much like this. She'd failed him then. She swore she'd never fail anyone else. But today she felt that old fear crawling back. Marcus approached her slowly, each step heavy with the weight of anger he hadn't yet named. His reputation was carved into every corner of the base, decisive, fearless, unshakable. But beneath all that steel was a man who had seen too many of his soldiers fall, and he wore responsibility like armor. "Stand down, General," someone muttered. But he ignored them, his gaze fixed solely on Alina. She lifted her chin, steady, despite the throbbing in her shoulder. "Is this who you are now?" she asked quietly. "A leader who fires at the people, trying to save your soldiers?" Her voice struck the courtyard harder than the bullets had. Marcus hesitated, just for a heartbeat. And in that tiny hesitation lived a lifetime of conflict. He had expected fear, tears, maybe even an apology. But he hadn't expected challenge. He hadn't expected truth. The crowd leaned in, breathless. Lena felt the air shift, not just from pain, but from something deeper, a moral crack splitting open. Marcus's choices were no longer just his own. The entire base was watching him grapple with the consequences, and then the unexpected happened. A sudden shout erupted from behind them as Private Collins, the soldier she had treated earlier, collapsed to the ground. Gasping for air, his wound had reopened. His pulse was dangerously low. The whispers vanished, replaced with urgent cries. Elena didn't wait for permission. She ran. Despite her aching body, she slid beside Collins and pressed her hands to the wound. Blood surged between her fingers. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She needed help badly. And the first person to reach her was Marcus. He dropped to his knees across from her, his hands trembling as he removed his gloves. His pride, his posture, his rank, all of it shattered in the face of a soldier in danger. "Tell me what to do," he said, voice stripped of command. The shift was so jarring that the surrounding soldiers stood speechless. Alina met his eyes only for a second, but it was enough. The fury was gone. In its place lived something raw, something honest, regret. She guided him quickly, giving orders he followed without question. Their movements aligned like gears clicking into place. Gauze, pressure, steady hands, synchronized breaths. A medic and a general, working not as rivals but as two humans desperate to save a life. Minutes stretched into lifetimes. And then, finally, Collins stabilized. A collective exhale spread through the courtyard. Shoulders dropped. Tension dissolved like mist in sunlight. Alina leaned back, exhausted. Marcus sat frozen, staring at his blood-stained hands. The soldiers around them waited, knowing something important, something irreversible was about to unfold. He looked at Alina with a heaviness that humbled even the air between them. "I was wrong," he said, the words scraping out like stones. "And you've still saved him." "It's my duty," she replied softly. Even when others forget theirs. The crowd erupted, first in murmurs, then in applause that rolled across the base like thunder. Not for Marcus, not for authority, but for Alina, for courage without ego, for strength wrapped in gentleness. Marcus bowed his head, a gesture no one had ever witnessed from him. "You saved more than a soldier today," he murmured. "You saved me from myself." Alina didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence carried more truth than any reprimand. Later that evening, when the sun hung low and cast gold across the barracks, Marcus approached her again, not with authority, but with humility. He handed her a small medal polished to a mirror shine. "For bravery under fire," he said, "even when the fire came from me." She accepted it quietly, her fingers brushing the cool metal. And for the first time that day, she allowed herself to breathe deeply. Because compassion, no matter how battered, never truly breaks. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And in the fading light of that evening, Alina realized that the bullets which struck her that morning had not defined her day. The courage she chose afterward had. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below and subscribe to Whispered Words for more powerful stories told from the heart.